So I don't have any slides, but I do want to pull up the not Vimeo. If you'd like to follow along, you're welcome to. If you just look for NASA Museum Alliance, I hope it's the first thing that shows up. Although sometimes you get the other alliance. There it is. So show of hands if you've at least heard of the Museum Alliance. Not heard of the Museum Alliance? Not ever? Okay. Not sure? Can't remember? Okay. Well, the NASA Museum Alliance started a long, long time ago with Anita Sois, if you guys remember that name. And she tells me the story this way in terms of back before there was broadband internet, the only way to get Mars imagery was to call Anita and she would send you a CD. Right? That's how the Museum Alliance started. And then she hired me, and then 6 months later she said, "Good luck, Jeff. See you later. I'm retiring." And so now we're getting into the transition of what can the Museum Alliance become in this new digital age? And how can the Museum Alliance that started as just a community of people, a small group of people who wanted to show newest NASA stuff, how can we make it into a community that can serve you? And just from this morning's discussions, there's all sorts of stuff. And the Museum Alliance is just a platform. And again, you're welcome to browse on your own. I did make AstroViz, let's do. The beauty of the Museum Alliance is that it is a member website. So this is the public face. But once I sign in, let's try it, AstroViz 2018. I hope this works. Nope. I know, right? How's that? Still no? It's fine. Oh, there it goes. Okay, so this is now the member side. And for those of you who actually have accounts, you're welcome to sign in right now and follow along. Okay. If you don't have an account, it's really easy to register. There's a link up there somewhere. But the whole point is that this is now a place where you can collaborate and you can work and you can share things. So the number one primary product of the Museum Alliance is right here, these telecons. And if you click, we have now over 500 archived telecons that include presentation materials to be used by anyone in the museum venue. Brandon and the Universal Learning have done a great job. I'll just show you the most recent one we did literally yesterday. We do them all the time, and it's just a little time capsule of NASA research that's happening right now. So this, what was yesterday? June 12th. This one, we just did it yesterday. This one was of Dream 2 with Bill Farrell, if anybody knows Bill Farrell at Goddard. And one of the coolest things is that he's the PI for the project. So if you want to know the best visuals to use from his project, from finding water on the moon, that's what he was talking about yesterday, finding water on the moon, he has them all for you right here. You click through, takes a few seconds to just click through. Well, he has like 80 slides, so maybe not. But you just sift through it and you see, does he have a great visual that I could use in my planetarium show? Does he have a great visual that I could use in my next talk? This is, you guys get the idea, right? And we have this for almost any NASA topic. Again, it's just a little time capsule, and what's really cool is that this will be here as long as I'm alive anyway. And the idea is really just that simple. You have something, you want to share it, you put it on the Museum Alliance site. It's really that simple. And if you are looking for something and you need it for whatever reason, let me minimize that. There's a really great search function because I'm all about interactivity. I probably don't have that much time. Someone want to give me a topic, something you've been wanting to know if NASA has a visual or something?
Dark matter.
Dark matter, I love it. That's a great one. Brandon did that one for us. So we'll do dark matter. We'll search all the telecons. And of course, we have resources, we have a calendar, you're allowed to post member events, you guys get the idea. again, if you're a member, you're allowed to log in and take a look at all this stuff. Here we go. This is actually one of Brandon's, Universe of Learning. Did one, what was it? October last year, all about dark matter. We did it, was it for Dark Matter Day, Brandon? It was, right? Yes, it was for Dark Matter Day. And again, we have all these speakers, and you can see everything that these experts who are on the cutting edge of the research, these are all the visuals that they love, that they think are the best. So you don't have to go searching through the library of NASA, images.nasa.gov for all their things. You just come and see what the experts love. And I mean, I don't really have anything. Do you want to try one more? How about one more topic?
Planetarium shows.
Planetarium shows. I love it. We'll do visuals. Actually, Robert did the last one. I think Robert did the last one.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Stations. Can I spell?
S on his card.
Yeah.
No, not visual.
Third letter's an S.
The third letter's an S.
We alter it for stylistic.
I know, right? Anyway, you guys get the idea, is that the telecons are just one thing. We also have resources too. Let's see, I did World Oceans Day, top 10 NASA exhibit ideas. Here it is. Robert did it back in April for us. And was Kim on this one too? I think so. Yeah, Kim was on this one too. And again, you can just see, oh, and Frank too. And we just, you know, this is all the stuff that they love. So you don't have to search for it yourself if you're short on time and effort, which a lot of people are. Okay, question, yes?
Sorry.
No, that's fine.
Is it just for museums, or is it for all kinds of informal education?
It's for all kinds of informal educators. The only people that we cannot take are actual commercial companies that sell stuff. And that's an ethics rule because we are government run. But Kevin, where's Kevin? Yeah, Kevin's over there. Kevin and I have this long discussion of the Museum Alliance is a resource for everybody. So even if you are a commercial company, if you need something, you just email me. And my email is right on that page on the About. Is the About here somewhere? Home. It's on the page. It's on the public page. It's on the About Us page. My email's right at the bottom. If you need something, if Kevin wants, someone else asked me for like, what's the best resolution Mars panorama we have? I went found it for them, sent it to them. Right? It's really that simple. All of our resources are supposed to be publicly available. The Museum Alliance is just that Anita used to call it the front door, the concierge service, the time capsule, whatever you want to call it. We try to be that something for everybody.
Are there any questions online?
Oh, and while I'm up here, I did want to point out to Brandon, for example, if you wanted to post those visuals, the working files for your view space stuff, the Museum Alliance is a perfect way, but you don't want it to be public, right? You don't want every Joe Schmo to have access to it, but you want it to be accessible to the museum audience. The Museum Alliance is the perfect place for that.
That sounds like a great conversation to have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we have two questions. First one is, can these provided visuals be used freely?
Yes. Everything that we put on there, we make sure the speakers know that the whole point is to let people use it. And so that's a prerequisite for presenting for us.
And the second question, how does the search work?
How does the search?
A lot of metadata tagging of the resources required.
Honestly, it's just a simple keyword search. Yeah, for now. That's all. Yeah.
Okay, let's thank Jeff again.
Yep.
All right, and next up we have Gordon Squires, who's going to talk to us about reimagining AstroPix. And so.
Brandon, we're not up on the screen, right?
Oh.
There we go. So this talk is dedicated to Ryan Wyatt and Michelle Viotti, and if you're curious why, I'll answer that in the question period. So 15 years ago, and there goes one of the punchlines from my talk. Thank you very much, Lars Lindbergh Christensen, ladies and gentlemen. 15 years ago, some folks who are in this room got together in a dark room somewhere, I like to imagine, and they had a idea, they saw a need, and they had a dream. And their dream was included something that may not be bigger than Google, but at least would be better than Google. And out of this sacred alliance, the love child that became known as AstroPix was born. Now, I joined this merry band some years later, and AstroPix has now grown up as a teenager and is somewhat of an orphan child. And the question is, of course, what is AstroPix? Well, if you're not familiar with it, this is one way you can find a little bit of information about AstroPix. And I'll give you a little bit of information about AstroPix is, but really the question, the point of my talk is not actually to tell you what AstroPix is, but to ask you what it is or what it should be. So this is the interface to the website of AstroPix. AstroPix, amongst other things, is an image aggregator of public-friendly astronomy images for a number of content producers from around the world. So this is the landing page of the AstroPix website. There's various components of it. It has just a little bit over 7,000 astronomy images now, and you can see these are images made for the general public. They were originally produced for press releases or educational or outreach purposes. The content for AstroPix comes from a number of providers, and the list is here. If your facility is not on that list, this is a part of the conversation we'd like to have with you this week, is how can your public-friendly images potentially become part of this collection? Through accessing these images, there's a number of ways you can do it. One is there's a search capability, and you can see there's an advanced search where you can search on a number of things, including object name, telescope facility, distance, various other categories. Or you can do, of course, just a free-form search as well. So there's a way to find your way through these 7,000 plus images. And when you find yourself to the image you like, there is a lot of information about that images, including links to the original source, any contextual information that may reside there is available for download in a number of resolutions, depending on what your application is. And I didn't expand out, but at the bottom, there's a lot more information from the AVM metadata standard. Maybe Lars will say something about that later if you're not familiar with it. But so that is really, my talk is quite short because the question is, after 15 years, this dream, I think we're all wondering, is it still the right vision for this? Well, we thought about 15 years ago when you typed in M16 into Google or other search engines that were available at that time, you got a lot of pictures of machine guns, and many of us have used that in talks about AstroPix over the years. But the world has changed since then. And how people access content is different, and there are different end users, including many of the folks in this community here who potentially have a use for these high quality original source images, and yet we may not have imagined how to provide them to you in a way that is most conducive to what you need. So these are a set of questions, so you don't have to ask me any in the question session. I'm going to ask you. You can add your questions to it in the Slack channel, but what we're looking for, I think, is some guidance as to what is the future of this platform. Does it continue to be primarily a web-based platform? How important is it as a real-time feeder for planetaria, for science centers, and so on? Is this, what can we be doing for the app development community or other communities? We, so far, only serve astrophysics imagery on here. Should this really be a priority to expand this to solar system objects, human spaceflight, or others? Video is not part of this repository, nor is VR. Should it be? Is there a need for AstroPix to go in that direction? It's heavily based on space-based astronomy facilities. If we want to have this as the authoritative source for all astronomy imagery, what are the barriers and how do we get a lot more of the ground-based facilities to be part of this endeavor? it doesn't have a lot of original content, educational, contextual information associated with it. Do we want to be creating more pathways from this portal out to educational, informational material or not? What else should it be? So these are a set of questions I have. AstroPix is partially being maintained and developed under the purview of Universe of Learning, but we're all stakeholders in it. And so I wanted to use my 5 minutes to ask you for some guidance both now and in the discussion session and over the next few days. Thank you. For Ryan, only one bullet slide, but I had to have one. And for Michelle, because I chose to change the context of how to present this in terms of putting it in terms of a story. Because I'm all about information. I don't care about stories. Just give me that.
I want to talk about the first question now to you. Who here had not heard of AstroPix before? Okay, good. We got
30% say so.
we've increased the knowledge base by about 50% already.
Yeah.
Good.
All right, are there other questions? Gordon? Yeah.
How do you envision well, in terms of solar system content, photojournal's already there, and it does many of the same search-based filters that you illustrated with AstroPix. How do you see one?
There's a few other astronomy archives out there, but I think what has gone into the astrophysics images that makes AstroPix so powerful is a really rich and deep metadata standard in order to index and make it accessible. Image archives have got that depth of metadata that would make it so useful.
Yes.
Are all of these images free use for planetarium and everything?
For each image that's on there, their image use policy is delineated. Most of them are Creative Commons or free use of some sort. So, yeah.
Right. So for video, a lot of the visualizations that we do here in this thing are not based on the sky with the AVM metadata, et cetera. And are there bandwidth issues or storage issues for adding in lots and lots of video? Because I think it would be, I'd love to see it go there.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'd first have to figure out the metadata standards for video bandwidth, storage. There's lots of money somewhere.
We are actually, yeah, just right now we've actually moved AstroPix into Amazon Web Services, so actually data storage is a bit of an issue for cost at this point. So, and the only thing I'll toss out is the existing AVM metadata is so focused on imagery, right? We do have to really kind of rethink what makes a rich tag, like the color, the tags for the color coding of an image, right? That's one of the unique things that AVM supports, that AstroPix offers in a visual interface that nobody else really has a way to provide. For video, we might not have that like magic thing, like this is what everyone needs in video but no one sees. But if we can find that, that would be interesting or useful.
If the community wanted it, then we try to figure it out. Yeah.
So I've been trying to build a database of more planetary imagery than photojournal has. And one of the things that I keep running up against, like your input on, is how do you make quality determinations? Or do we need 12 images of M31? Should we stop putting in more of those? And, how do you make those choices when it comes to your database?
Yeah, well, right now, the list of providers is relatively small, and they put things on a feed and they get sucked into AstroPix. Now, these are
But those are all curated feeds.
That's right. And these are all established providers as well. We haven't tackled the problem of going to a sort of a different tier of content providers. And, the issues of how to characterize solar system objects or things on the surface of planets, we haven't tackled that at all. So these are good questions.
Is there any questions on
One online question.
Okay.
Have you thought about collaboration / cross access with popular mobile apps like Starwalk?
We have not proactively reached out to the app development community. We have done some preliminary development work and hoping that they would find it useful, but we haven't invested a lot of our energies there yet.
We do have some simple APIs that already exist in AstroPix, and there are a couple of websites that actually do employ that. But yeah, that's definitely a That was one of the things we envisioned moving forward, that by giving this rich database, you might be able to develop apps or kiosks or things that could draw from that.
Okay, so for the sake of time, I think we should move on. Thank you, Gordon. All right, so the last two talks of this session, and then we'll have a discussion session, are by Lars Lindberg Christensen from ESO. His first talk is the community-driven planetarium content archives at ESO at ESO.
Yeah, so I'd like to segue off the previous two talks. I think this was a really good introduction to what I have to say. So I'll be talking a bit more about these delivery mechanisms and about the philosophy behind, and also about those questions that we just had, especially from Emily. What you're hearing in the background is one of the pieces of content that we are delivering from our system. So we don't have a Jeffrey to answer questions about content. And since we are European and publicly funded, we do not get to make assumptions about our users and also not to restrict what they use our content for. Also, ESO is a fairly small organization, so we've been able to somehow introduce open source in a fairly progressive way. You can turn it down if you want. I can't do it from up here. Yeah, it doesn't do much. Ah, here we go. Sorry, I'm not a Mac user. Good. Secret. So that means that we are delivering all the stuff that we have under Creative Commons, and we try to make it accessible. I know many people make things accessible, but if you actually go to their website, it's very difficult to figure out how to get the stuff. And we try to go beyond that. So a comment, the stuff you see here has been driven by the development of our planetarium, the ESO Supernova, and I'll get back to that in the afternoon. And a common entry point is this, so if you take nothing else home, go to this website and bookmark it, because that's where you'll get an entry to all the stuff that we have. So just to list the things that we have, for instance, we deliver 500 pieces of music, including what you hear in the background here, which is a fantastic track from Stellar Drone, I think it's called. We have educational materials, exhibition materials, things like this, which is like 10, 15, 20,000 pixels that can be used and printed and repurposed in your own languages in case you don't speak German or English, as our ESO Supernova is. We have equi-rectangular panoramas, for instance. We have about 400, and 200 of those are fully 4 pi, fully spherical. Of course, yes, they do have a lot of ground-based telescopes, which is limiting your choice if you're looking for something else, but still, we think it's quite neat. We also deliver full dome imagery. We have about 200 of those, fully available freely in up to about 15, 20,000 pixels. All our stuff you can search. You can also subscribe to an RSS feed if anyone uses that. This was a protocol used in about 15 years ago, but we still find it quite useful. I know you all like stuff to be said about RSS because it pings up in your email. Gosh, I'm really a dinosaur. I still use email. Oh boy. Well, we all deal with information and the ways we do. So most importantly, we have these full dome clips and animations, which are used widely. We have about 500 clips available in various types. We have also Hubble because we're on a contract with ESA doing Hubble. And last but not least, we have, for instance, Phantom of the Universe. I just heard from someone this morning who just like, "Oh, we're using the show. It's fantastic." I love that show. It's about background and dark energy. And really neat, especially if you're a small planetarium, you can't afford some of the bigger, more professional productions, and this is a really good, viable alternative. And as you can see from this example here, this is the actual web page. You can download your 4K master files
other questions for Laura?
The link is also here. Here.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I love your stuff. And we use too, but how much it's being used all over the world and how, in what ways it's being used, or people.
We just don't. And that's the price we pay by being open source, directly downloadable. You don't click and get a login and jump through hoops and you know, 2 days. We don't for most of the stuff we do. And that's a bit of a problem. But on the other hand, we go to NASA, gosh. Although it is hard to find materials on the NASA websites, which I think we all know, as panorama or moon. I still think we have a problem there, and I'm not saying we take it from there. Yeah.
Yeah, right here.
In the past, I've had trouble getting clean downloads because the files are so big.
Mm.
Are there any other alternative ways to?
Oh, you want The thing is, it's practically just Luis and me and a few other guys and girls. We just don't have time. So that's the compromise we've had to make. We don't do that. We don't do. We do provide a server in your country, though. Actually, probably 2 or 3. We have a non-derivatives, meaning you can't just chop them up and use them for widely different purposes. Again, the compromise is you can use them for military propaganda videos